This is a conversation about responsibility, leadership, and the future Nigeria is building, a future that demands honesty, courage, and clarity. We will look beyond the headlines to engage the deeper realities of our national journey, while also recognizing those whose experience, resilience, and vision offer lessons for renewal and progress over the next 60 minutes. I am Kayode Akintemi. This is 60 Minutes with Mr. K. Today, our guest is a lawyer, veteran politician, and a central figure in Nigeria's modern political communication. He served 2 terms as Minister of Information and Culture under the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, shaping government messaging during some of the country's most politically charged years. As National Publicity Secretary of the APC, he was a key architect of the narratives that defined the 2015 and 2019 elections, especially the one that kind of like toppled a current government and brought in a new president. Often at the center of national debate, his political journey offers rare insight into power, persuasion, and the demands of public service. You're welcome to 60 Minutes with Mr. K, Alhaji Lai Mohammed. I love to call you Alhaji.
Thank you very much, Kayode, for having me.
It's a pleasure having you. Let's start from the very beginning, or let's fast track to where we are today so that we kind of like take a few steps backward and get to hear your thoughts. So when you look at your public life, from being in opposition to the heart of government, what moment best captures the weight of responsibility that came with speaking for power? Your 8 years in office, what were those biggest moments for you?
Thank you very much, Kayode. Actually, the purpose of this book is my own personal effort at telling Nigeria's story from the inside. Telling Nigeria's story from the vantage point of the longest serving Minister of Information and Culture in the country's history. For 8 years, Kayode, I found myself at the center of government communication, crisis management, national orientation, culture, and tourism. So this book is actually an attempt to preserve the records, at the same time as provide context where necessary, bring clarity to most misunderstood things. That is why I wrote this book, because I think posterity would not be kind to me if I do not record what I saw, how government makes decisions, how such decisions are often overwhelmed, overcrowded by misinformation, and what do we do to shape the narrative? And that is what you are going to find in the 20 chapters of this book.
Okay.
Key moments
Yes.
of the administration.
I would love to go through the details. I haven't had the opportunity of going through it because I just got my copy from you. And I would love to go through the details, but help us understand. When you said headlines and sound bites, 8 years of being the first person to serve in that office of Minister of Information and Culture. And you took over the responsibility. Was the responsibility for tourism as well part of your portfolio?
Absolutely.
But that has been removed over the last few years. Yes. So that responsibility is a big one. So in terms of what you have put and poured into this book, what were the biggest moments for you in 8 years in office? The most challenging one,
especially. There are several, and they are all recorded in this book. There's a moment that I actually contemplated resigning because of the pressure, because certain decisions of government and being spokesperson of government put pressure, not just on me, but even on my family. In particular, the EndSARS episode created a tense moment between me and my family, to the extent that there was a family meeting and I was persuaded, advised to resign. The details will be found in this book, how it was finally resolved. Now, another moment I probably won't forget in a hurry is the decision to suspend the services of Twitter in Nigeria. Again, there are so many false, narratives as to why the service of Twitter was suspended in Nigeria.
Let me hold you just right there and ask you, when it comes to the issue of EndSARS, that's one very sore story for a lot of young people, and they're still battling with the experience, and some of them have been scarred and they're still recovering, and some of them will probably never recover from it. What do you think of it? How did you feel when you saw this happening and the level of denial of this incident and the number of deaths that were being alleged to have happened?
Kayode, at no point did the government, Muhammadu Buhari, deny that there were casualties during the EndSARS protest. As a matter of fact, not only did we detail the casualties, town by town, state by state, city by city, we also commiserated with the victims and the families of the victims. For instance, when the history of EndSARS has been told, nobody remembers that 37 policemen were killed during EndSARS. 6 soldiers were killed during EndSARS. We never denied that EndSARS did not lead to loss of lives. As a matter of fact, if you go back to my interview, my press conference, when I called out the CNN, the details of which you find in this book.
Yeah.
But what the government said, and which we still insist, is that there were no massacres at all at the Lekki toll gate. That is different from saying that no lives were lost in Lagos State.
So you're saying the gunshots were just gunshots that were fake?
They were not fake. They were issued blank
and
shots.
the blank bullets caused the kind of cuts and tears that led to people seen to be bleeding and falling on the ground?
Look, see, Kayode.
There are images.
Kayode, of course, we know there are images. Kayode, we know they can bring images from other parts of the world. And you know this very well.
Were you saying that there were...
Kayode,
yes, sir.
The soldiers are deployed to the toll gate to disperse a crowd, a peaceful movement that had been hijacked by hoodlums. And no matter the amount of noise, the amount of misinformation, the amount of disinformation of fake news, facts remain facts. There's a procedure for soldiers when they are going to quell riots. They sign for the ammunition.
Why were soldiers deployed and not the police?
Because at that point in time, like I told you, 37 policemen also lost their lives in the process. At a point in time during the EndSARS, you recall that it became dangerous for even policemen to wear their uniforms. They were being attacked everywhere. Police stations were being razed down. So at the point in time, I had to intervene with the then IGP to please ensure that the police does not give up law and order maintenance. Because at the point in time, the police became the object. Don't forget it was EndSARS. The whole protest was against the department of the police. So it was when situations got out of hand that it was now decided that, look, let's deploy soldiers to the top, which was actually the epicenter. Don't forget that the first 2 days of EndSARS are very peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
But the third day, on the second day, it had been hijacked by hoodlums.
So not the people that organized it, hoodlums.
Of course.
But some of these hoodlums were said to be members or thugs of APC. These were the narratives being shared at the time.
Look, you see, there are so many narratives out there. But what I can talk about, that's because I was an insider. I was in constant touch with the Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Defense Staff, the IGP, the DG of NIA, all security outfits. I was in daily meetings with them.
Were you in touch with the governor of Lagos?
Of course, yes, I was.
It seemed like the governor of Lagos was not carried along, especially as it relates to soldiers being deployed.
I don't think so. And I won't want to comment on that. You see, I won't take that narrative. Because it's on record that when this story about killing at the toll gate first emanated, the first person the president contacted, late President Mohammed contacted, was the governor of Lagos State. That was the first person he contacted. So, like I said, I wouldn't want to go into that detail. But you see, sometimes when disinformation goes unchallenged for too long a time, people start believing their own lies. People start believing their own fabrications. You see, no responsible government will preside over the killing, cold-blooded murder of innocent citizens.
Before you came into office, and I'm sure you've got something in here about that, people recognized your capacity to defend issues that affect government and your political party. But how do you defend what some people described as the indefensible, which is the fact that APC, with the incoming president in 2015, which was President Muhammadu Buhari, gave the impression that it was going to correct or right the wrong of the previous government with regards, with regards the Chibok girls. And it seemed like nothing was ever done to bring back the rest of the girls. I know you said a few things to me. I'd like you to say and share your thoughts on that one before we wrap the segment.
The Chibok girls were abducted 14 full months before President Muhammadu Buhari assumed the reins of power. Those 14 months, the trail had gone cold. Despite that, because governance is a continuum, we did not stop at our efforts to bring back some of those girls. And if you remember, quite a few were brought back. You will recall also that it was in an effort at transparency and accountability, but under President Muhammadu Buhari, I was able to convince the Bring Back Our Girls movement to come and see what efforts the government was making to recover this Chibok, despite the fact that the trail had gone cold. And it's on record that in 2018, the leader of the Bring Back Our Girls and some of her members followed us to Yola.
Who were these members of?
Obi, I think Aisha Yusufu, yes.
Aisha Yusufu.
Yes, followed us to Yola. And from Yola, every night, we were embedded in an enough aircraft on such sorties where we were flown over Sambisa Forest, flown over the enemy territories, and were able to see from the board exactly what efforts the military were making, looking out and searching, not just for the girls, even for the Boko Haram. We did this for 2 nights. At the end of the 3rd day, they came back. They were satisfied. And the statement they issued at the end of their visit is in that book.
It's in the book?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're saying Obi Ezekwesili, Aisha Yusufu,
Yes.
and maybe 1 or 2 others?
Yeah, I couldn't
they
know
were
them,
on
but
those
Obi,
flights.
I'm very sure.
You're sure?
Yes,
of
very,
Obi,
yeah.
And they were on that flight and they saw
with me.
for themselves.
We were on the same, we flew together from Abuja to Yola, and every night for 2 nights, from Yola we took off on special nav aircraft to witness how the Air Force and the ground forces were, fighting Boko Haram.
Okay, we'll take a short break now. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. The core of the conversation we're having today is about your book, Headlines and Sound Bites, Media Moments That Defined an Administration.
Yes.
I'm having this conversation because you, a former minister, 2-time minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, taking care of that area that affects all of us who are professionals in the field of journalism, which is the Ministry of Information. Alhaji, we thank you for your service, but we'll come back in just a minute after this break.
Thank you very much.
How do we save this country?
You moved from the APC to the PDP.
Boy, listen, I'm still paying teachers in Ondo State. If Olabode just should be expelled from the party.
It's an existential imbecility, utter nonsense.
Join me, Dapo Adeboye, on Politics HQ, where Nigeria's political heartbeat is felt. Monday to Friday, 8 p.m. on News Central.
So Alhaji Lai Mohammed, thank you very much for still being here. We are having a conversation about your book, your time in office, headlines and sound bites, media moments that defined an administration, and this is the administration of President Muhammadu Buhari. So you oversaw the Twitter ban in 2021. With the way social media now shapes political engagements and public debate, what lessons from that decision do you think current and future administrations will have? What do you think will be the lessons that they must have learned from it?
I was in the government for 8 years, and at no time in those 8 years was the issue of even banning or dealing with social media ever discussed at council
What
meeting.
about ban of Twitter?
Precisely that. Twitter, the idea of Twitter being suspended was for national security, because Twitter became the platform of choice for those want to destabilize this country.
And
Especially
who were
IPOP.
those elements?
Especially IPOP. No, I'll be very precise. Because I remember I was the one that went to President Muhammadu Buhari with the issue of Twitter. And he asked me only one question, two questions. He said, is it because they deleted my tweet? I said, no, Excellency. The next question, and I told him why. Then he said, do you have the capacity? I said, yes, I've already spoken with the Minister of Communication. It was one of the toughest decisions I had to take. For national security and national stability, I had to take it. And I have no regret whatsoever. Because until that time, Twitter was not even registered as a company in Nigeria. So they paid no taxes. They were making tons and tons of dollars from Nigeria. It was, and you see this in this book, it was that suspension of Twitter that forced Twitter to come to negotiation table in Nigeria to be registered as a company operating in Nigeria and with parameters on how they could operate. And today, if you check from FRS, you know how much tax Twitter is paying to the Nigerian government.
So would you say that you muscled them into coming to the table, or
Our decision to suspend their operations persuaded them to come. They wrote us. They wanted to know why their service was suspended, and we gave them the facts and figures. However, prior to that time, we had been inviting most of these multimedia global, organizations to discuss with them and persuade them to please ensure they are gatekeepers on their platforms. Google, or Facebook, we had regular meetings with all of them. So, including, look, we wrote through NBC and NCC several, warnings, even to Twitter, but they were so arrogant. They felt nobody could do anything. And that's why but for us, and I keep telling people, it's because there's a country called Nigeria. That is why there's social media. It's because there's a country called Nigeria, that's why there's even social media. I mean, there's television, there's newspapers. If a country allows itself to be plunged into any war as a result of the recklessness of social media, where will we be today?
Okay, let me ask you this then. There is a part of your job that demands that you must speak for the powers that be over a period of 8 years. Was there any time that you can recollect and share with us, or maybe it's something you refer to in the book, that you can say you spoke truth to power, not speaking on behalf of power to the public, but you spoke truth to power? Because some of the things that's being used to define a nation and say that there are elites of that society, and I've spoken with quite a few people here on this platform who have said that Nigeria hasn't got elites because they don't speak truth to power. Was there any time you spoke truth to power, despite the fact that you were working for that power and speaking on their behalf to the nation, Nigeria and Nigerians? Can you share one or two instances?
I've never spoken falsehood to power. I've never said anything to power which is not true. And I challenge anybody to come and tell me what lie I've told to power.
See, I am worried that a lot of people, even those who have worked in government, when they come here, they say exactly what you're saying, but outside of this platform, when I have them in front of camera, they like to say that, when you're in government is different, and a lot of times...
Kayode, what they tell you?
They don't tell the truth to power most of the time.
Kayode, I served under a president that will respect you when you tell him, you tell him the truth, no matter how unpalatable. And I'll give you an instance, and it's in this book.
But if there are allegations
just listen,
of most
Kayode,
of the
listen,
people,
Kayode, for God's
most
sake.
of the people in
Kayode,
government of Buhari were paying homage
Kayode,
and worshipping
will you please
President
listen?
Buhari,
Kayode,
and they never told him truth.
Kayode, will you
the
listen?
nation was burning, and they never told him.
Okay,
Please
Kayode,
go on.
if you have the answers, why are you asking
No,
me the question?
I'm asking you.
And I said, look at
particular.
this chapter.
Yes, chapter.
Sometimes in 2017.
Yes.
Chapter 1.
Chapter 1, okay.
President Obasanjo wrote a scathing letter to Muhammadu Buhari and tore the administration of Muhammadu Buhari. See the appendix to that.
Yes.
And said for 2.5 years the government did nothing. And that it should not, the president should not even ask for a second term. I saw the letter and I felt it needed a response. I want to Femi Adesina, not Sugar, but I said, please, don't respond to this letter. I want to handle it myself. Oh, he said, good, Honorable Minister, but the President Buhari said nobody should reply him. I said, don't worry, I'll handle it with him. So I went to the President, said, Excellency, I want to respond to this letter by Obasanjo. He said, no, you cannot do so. I said, why, sir? He said, number one, was my senior in the army. Number two, I don't want anything that is going to, put the military in a bad light. So, Your Excellency, this is not about the military, it's not about seniority or no seniority, this is about your administration. And he said, no, Lai, I forbid you, quoting his words. I said, Your Excellency, I'm afraid it's the right thing to do. He grudgingly agreed for me to do so. I said, I will assure you one thing, Excellency, I won't abuse him, I won't be rude. He said, okay. And I went and replied him. It's also in that book. And I think I must have traveled somewhere. And the president was in Bauchi. And he read it. He said, what? He said, I asked Lai not to respond to Obasanjo. He disobeyed me. It's in that book. However, people said he did the right thing. That's just one example that came to public, that I decided to publish about him and how government works. I mean, if you wanted, when he said, don't reply, why did I insist on reply? Because I believe that it was better for the country that would respond to it. It was better for themselves to respond to it. But he was not convinced, the president, and he said, I disobeyed him. But how many of these instances do we bring to the fore? And like I said, look at the way and you see in this book, you see the way Nigeria handled the COVID-19 pandemic. We were rated the third in the world, the way we handled it. Small fact, when the pandemic came, we thought Nigerians would be dying like flies on the streets. It was so, and the information pillar of the presidential task force was the key, because at the time of the pandemic, there were no known cure. So we had to rely largely on communication, on persuasion, wear mask, don't do this, don't do that. Then, I also said, if you read this book, you will see how we also used communication to attract investment into Nigeria. The first IPI conference in the history of Nigeria after 67 years was brought into Nigeria during his administration. And today, we have what they call media and information literacy, I think it's a category 2 institute in Nigeria. Now, these are positive things that the administration did and brought. And this is what we try to chronicle in this book. Okay. If you want to, you see, honestly, if I want to advise Mr. President, I will not come to 60 Minutes with Mr. K. No, I have channels, I have access to him. And don't forget that for everything that I know, Daniel probably knows more. So he will listen to me, and he will tell me why probably that is not possible. Or he will just tell me, go ahead. But it's not something you publicize.
So, thank you very much, Lai Mohammed. We will take a short break again. When we come back this time around, the question, and I hope I won't forget, that I would want to ask you is, some people said that your communication during the election was highly strategic and very, very effective. And others said you were the king of propaganda. You will help us unbundle that and refer to some part of the book that handled whether you should be rated as the best propagandist Nigeria has ever seen or the most strategic communicator. I will take a short break. When we come back, and that's what we'll talk about. Don't go away.
As the world winds down, the truth is just beginning to unfold.
Stories tonight. ICRC mourns rising spate of kidnapping in Nigeria's north.
We need electoral reforms. The way it worked now did not work for us.
Join us tonight at 9 p.m. where we bring the world to your screen with clear and incisive reports. Tonight on News Central, every story counts.
News on the go, live reports, real-time updates, unfiltered stories. I'm Bernard Akede. This is News Central.
Welcome back to 60 Minutes with Mr. K. We're still here with Lai Mohammed, lawyer, seasoned politician, and former Minister of Information and Culture with national orientation as part of his portfolio. Now we turn our attention to reflection on his journey in public service, the leadership lessons he learned, and legacy he hopes to leave. Mr. Mohammed, thank you so much for staying with us for a long conversation. 60 minutes
Thank you
with
for
Mr. K.
me for 60 minutes. Yeah, 40 minutes already. Thank you.
Yes. So let me ask you the question I was going to put to you before we had to take a short break. So some people said you're a fantastic strategic communicator, despite the fact that your background is law. But others said you are fantastic when it comes to propaganda because APC, on the first term of President Muhammad Buhari, won the election because of its propaganda. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I would say that people have their own different assessment about or understanding about issues. But it's on record that I've been privileged to be the only Nigerian alive today who back to back had been spokesperson for the opposition and also spokesperson for government. For about 10 years, between 2006 and 2015, you recall, I was the spokesperson for AC, for ACN and APC. And again, from 2015 to 2023, I was a spokesperson, Minister of Information and Culture for the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So I've been very fortunate, I've been very privileged. And it's an experience, an opportunity that I cherish, and I thank Nigerians for their support. However, as to whether I'm a propagandist or I'm a strategic communication, I think the jury is still out.
The jury is still out. Okay, so you're not going to say what you think, or how do you see yourself?
You see, for me, the role of a spokesperson, whether in government or in opposition, is very clear. I am As opposition spokesperson, I was very alert, and I did not forgive the government of the day for their mistakes. I reminded them what they did not do. I also pointed out the way how we could do it better. And as spokesperson for government, I did not only sit down and issue press releases, as you can see from this book, or television appearance. No, I had to devise innovative ways of making sure that I communicate to the people government projects and government policies. Because often than not, the way you communicate government policies or events is as important as the events themselves. Like you always say in the media, whatever is not reported is not been done. It didn't happen.
It didn't happen,
Yeah.
true.
So, in other words, it's your take. But I saw myself as a Minister of Information and Culture as an agenda-setting minister. I saw myself as a minister that must use narrative to shape, government. I saw myself as a minister that must go beyond issuing press release or television appearance and be involved in government. That is what is in this book. Because like I explained to you.
Okay. I think we will have just a few minutes towards the end to come back. But very quickly, let me take a look at the recent incident of US airstrikes against terrorist camps in Sokoto. Nigerians are concerned about the fact that it was first announced directly by President Trump via tweet. Nigerians only hearing about it from the Twitter handle, and then later the Foreign Affairs Minister made a speech. As former Minister of Information, how do you view this delay in communication in terms of how government reacts and responds to things in a situation where the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria seems to be enjoying his Christmas holiday? But it was alleged that there is a coordination. In normal circumstances, if President Trump and his minister in charge of the Department of War are in the war room, looking at Nigeria and throwing bomb in, and then our own president is in Lagos enjoying Christmas and preparing for your festival, while one part of the country is being bombed by America, and we're saying that there's coordination. How would you, as Minister of Information at that time, if you were in office, how would you have handled that?
Okay, I've come to promote my book. Me, I won't answer that question.
You wouldn't answer that one. You would not enter.
Number one, I'm a part and parcel of this administration.
Okay. So what advice would you give them?
Me, give advice where? No, answer. Answer. Bearing on me.
You will not answer.
No, I don't answer.
Okay. So we're going into 2026. Nigerians are preparing for the new tax law. And it's going to take effect on the 1st of January. So there's been controversy in the past few weeks. Would you want to say, how do you think the government should have handled that one? Or is that another no answer?
Another no-go area.
So anything to do with the current government, you will not want to say anything. Okay, you're a member of the APC. So let's talk about APC. So
even that one won't answer.
But you're a member of APC, and all of a sudden,
even that one
APC has become a party that is just completely consuming all the other political parties and consuming their leaders. How do you, you look back at 2015 and look at the way you guys came together and were able to form an alliance, a merger that worked without taking out all the governors from any political parties in the way that it's happening now.
Have we ever seen Arsenal or Man U or Real Madrid said we want to stop scoring Never seen.
They'll kick
No, they're
someone.
alone. They're alone.
Also, you're saying that this is an own goal. You don't want to
No,
respond.
they're alone.
Let's focus on, would you rate your government, the government that you were part of, would you say that you did well? Or were there extraneous circumstances that led to what can be deemed by anybody else as failures of that government?
Well, Cowdy, I am proud and privileged to have served as a minister under President Muhammadu Buhari. And again, I said this book is my personal effort to tell Nigeria's contemporary history from the inside. And this book is an attempt to capture what for 8 years I did. I mean, the government did, because I was in the center of it all. Whether it's government communication, whether it's crisis management, whether it's national orientation, I was there. And it is reflected in this book. I'll just give you 2-3 things that were achieved. When we came in 2015, there were 20 local governments in the Northeast that were under the complete control of Boko Haram. You will recall that in 2015, there were no flights to Maiduguri, there were no flights to Bauchi, there were no flights to most of the northeastern states. Now, within a couple of years, states like Borno State, states like Bauchi, states like, Yobe, states like, Sokoto became accessible. And they became part of Nigeria once again. I explained to you that when I got to Burma on the 5th of December 2015, I thought I was in Afghanistan because they'd already taken over completely. The story is not the same today. Now, I've told you, I've recorded in this book how Nigeria tackled the pandemic. When Nigerians actually thought that we were going to lose millions of lives, smaller countries, neighboring countries, lost much more than we did. That to me is an achievement. I've alluded to how Nigeria stopped PNID from defrauding us of $9.6 billion, which they got fraudulently from arbitration. It's in that book. That book also tells us how we were able to get the world to return the largest number of artifacts in the whole world. It is in that book. That book also talks about how the government succeeded in using transparent manner to address contested issues such as the bring back our girls. Now, for me, I know that serving 8 years as the president, with the President Muhammadu Buhari, was and it still remains one of my proudest moments, because the achievements, as I chronicled in this book, are there to see. But more importantly, and this is to me more important, is that a few months to the end of our administration, we started this groundbreaking scorecard series where we invited ministers to come and give accounts of their stewardship over 8 years in a no holds barred live television. And we didn't stop at that. From there, we established a legacy portal, www.pmbscorecard.ng.gov, or is it .gov.ng, where today, from anywhere in the world, you can access the achievements.
I will definitely take a look at that. It's
like
not
I said,
promoted.
if you want to hide anything from Africans, put it in writing, put it in a book. This site, this legacy portal has been on in the last 30 months.
We will do a review. I can assure you, News Central will do a review, but we can't let you go without me asking you, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, a communicator, political communicator par excellence over the last 18, 20 years of Nigeria's political journey, and somebody who's a lawyer and a scholar. Let me ask you, what is next? Senate, governorship, presidency? You're just going to pick up your books and pick up your gown and go back to court? Or what do you want to do? What's next?
I think I need to give back to society. Society has given so much to me. Nigeria has done so much for me. Give me the opportunity to have served Chief of Staff to Asiwaju when he was governor of Lagos State, as spokesperson for opposition for about 10 years, as the longest serving Minister of Information and Culture for 8 years. I think it's time for me.
So how do you want to give back?
I've already started giving back. About 2 weeks ago, I gave the convocation lecture at the Achievers University in Owo. Before then, I was at Agoiwoyi, Olabisi Onabanjo University, Agoiwoyi, where I also gave a seminar paper to the mass comm and broadcast science students. Last month, I was at the Massacre of Technology again, where I addressed the students of mass communication, gave them another seminar paper, and just this week, I think it was Tuesday, I went to make a presentation of 5 copies of my book, The Library, Massacre of Technology. You see, we need to mentor future leaders. We need to we need to share with them our experiences and also our mistakes. And I think that, to me, is probably the most important thing for me to do now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, a lawyer, public relations expert, seasoned political communicator, 2-time minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And I must remember that you did mention you were chief of staff to the then governor of Lagos State, who is now the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. So well done for your journey thus far, and thank you for opting to give back. Nigeria will be grateful for everything that you can give back. And we thank you for spending time with us on 60 Minutes with Mr. K. Alhaji Lai Mohammed, thank you so much.
Secretary, thank you very much.
So on that note, we want to say thanks to our guests, and we want to say thank you for joining us as well. To our viewers, thank you for spending time with us on 60 Minutes with Mr. K. Until next time, let us keep asking the hard questions, even if we don't get any answers. Keep seeking the truth and keep believing in the possibility of a better Nigeria. I'm Mr. K. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and stay engaged, because you hold the office of the citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You are in power. Thank you.